What is the most common scenario of a man's failure in relationships? This is the scenario that most men go through or observe, even if they are not fully aware of it. It involves a chain of events that generally repeats among many, although there can be variations. Overall, it looks like this. First stage: infatuation and initial meetings. The man meets a woman, and either he immediately falls in love with her, or he initially finds her not very attractive or interesting. Sometimes he is literally waiting for her attention or affection, building trust and closeness. As they meet, an emotional connection develops. They start sharing thoughts, feelings, and plans. Gradually, it feels like they understand each other and have found common ground. Appearance of physical intimacy. A moment comes when they become physically close, which intensifies attraction and creates an illusion of a special bond. Regular and growing moments of intimacy. Each subsequent meeting becomes more emotional and fulfilling, increasing mutual interest. At this stage, everything seems to be going well. Desire to spend more time together and emerging difficulties. The man wants to spend as much time as possible with the woman, but her busy schedule, the work, friends, trips, interferes. She can't give him as much attention as he desires, and from time to time her friends demand her attention or invite her on trips. Shared plans and seriousness in conversations. During meetings, they discuss joint plans, future prospects, and the woman talks about serious relationship intentions. Everything seems to be heading towards development. Actions of the man and the woman's reaction. The man begins to make a lot of efforts to please her, gives gifts, helps, pays attention. Initially, she's grateful and bonds more, but over time, it seems she's tired of it or losing interest. Suspicion and jealousy appear. The man starts noticing signs that raise suspicions. He becomes jealous, asks questions, or seeks confirmation. The woman, in turn, becomes annoyed or irritated, claiming she has no reason for jealousy or bad reactions. Doubts and desire for guarantees. The man increasingly notices small signs that seem like reasons for concern or suspicion, even if there are no real reasons at all. An internal state of doubt begins, along with demands for clear guarantees from the woman. He initiates discussions about the relationship status and future. The woman avoids talking about serious commitment. Gradually, she stops discussing her intentions, changes the subject, says she's busy with work or just tired. Or she directly states that things are complicated and she doesn't want anything definite right now. The man reacts with aggression or readiness to break up. Sometimes he becomes angry, announces his desire to part ways, or takes a step back. But the situation often triggers a feedback. The man returns or the woman says she regrets the breakup shortly after. Cycle repeats, and the situation worsens. Problems accumulate, conflicts grow. The further along, the harder it becomes to maintain the relationship. Sometimes it ends completely, or both feel disappointed and disillusioned. Sometimes the man is left confused, not understanding what went wrong. He stays bewildered, having missed at which stage the mistake happened. This sense of hurt, misunderstanding, and confusion only intensifies. In this chain, men sometimes skip one or several key moments, or they go through them all. As a result, the man faces a choice. Either continue to devalue women, believing they are problematic or not good enough, or, more constructively, realize that such a scenario is common not only for men. Sometimes women also experience a similar story. They can suddenly lower their demands and interests, devalue the man. It's important to remember, because mutual devaluation is one of the common strategies arising from disappointment, misunderstanding, or unresolved inner conflicts. Regardless of gender, the causes of this typical scenario are often similar. It's not that men or women suddenly changed, but that the relationship process followed a certain pattern that didn't involve genuine feelings or respect. Let's look closely at the dynamics of this process so you can understand how to protect yourself from this standard scenario of failure and develop more conscious and harmonious relationships. Infatuation is the first stage. Most often, a man either fantasizes about mutual interests where there isn't really any, or he expects more from the situation than it can give. For example, if you are constantly waiting for attention, but your partner has a busy life and shows little reciprocal interest, you are creating an illusion of infatuation. The first month, 2 or 3, often the woman really shows positive interest, but over time her opinion might change. Sometimes, from the very beginning, her attitude was ordinary, without much enthusiasm. Many men tend to judge women based on traits, calling them introverted, traumatized from the past, workaholics, closed off, unintelligent, childish, narcissistic, or attention-seeking. Usually, that's an attempt to explain the low level of interest. But the truth is, instead of admitting she's not as interested as I'd like, many start seeking confirmation or disproof. Is she busy? Does she love me? Questions often don't provide real answers, but rather divert attention elsewhere. And the main thing, instead of working on how to genuinely interest her, they start demanding guarantees that they are valued. Better solutions involve not wasting effort trying to convince her of your worth, but rather working on how to genuinely increase your attractiveness and interest. Gifts and material investments are not the best strategies. Increasing investments only benefits big corporations like Apple or Dyson, not your relationship. If it seems she's postponing meetings, that's a sign of low interest. Your role now should be to reduce your importance to her, to stop being in the waiting position and regain your own interest. This can be achieved by establishing a balance. Don't overpush, make meetings fewer but more memorable. You might be surprised, but this approach increases the chances she will want to see you more often. You can easily check the effect. If the meeting feels interesting to her and she wants to repeat it, then everything is going well. If she still misses meetings or appears bored, then your attractiveness is declining, and it's time to change tactics. Growing involvement and closeness when you manage to break through a certain format. For example, you feel you clicked and everything is good. It's very important not to fall into illusions. Every couple has fundamental differences in worldview, interests, and values. Many believe that it was so good, and that prevents them from seeing real gaps. Learning to identify what you are not similar in, and respecting those differences, is key to maintaining respect and avoiding conflicts over troublesome moments. Focusing not only on similarities but also on differences that require discussion and compromise is much more beneficial. Respecting your partner's interests and values, honestly discussing boundaries and differences, these are the foundations of long-term stability. So, to avoid falling into this cycle of disappointment and failure, it's important to recognize your true motives and interests. Not confuse illusions with genuine interest. Learn to recognize and respect differences. Be honest with yourself and openly discuss principles and boundaries. If you want to avoid this classic failure scenario, it all starts with honest analysis of your feelings, expectations, and reactions. Then, even when facing difficulties, you'll be able to manage relationships more wisely and maintain balance. If you focus on how well you feel together, you will try to push for complete mutual understanding and move forward. Are we different in some way? Soon, we'll come to a common ground and restore the feeling of unity. This is how the most terrible conflicts begin. If your relationship isn't the best and you encounter a wonderful story, you simply don't notice that you're talking nonstop, while the other side listens. You just share your desires, but the woman's desires are of no concern. For a while, they will listen to you, and you will grow to regard the woman as important, but then they will get tired and walk away, because what's the point of listening to your verbal diarrhea? If you're very interested and your partner begins to distance from you, you're losing this game. The woman did something to make it interesting for you, but you failed to do the same to make her want to be near you, because you were completely focused on your own pleasure. If you're interested, no one will start to distance themselves from you. Attachments gifts are not straightforward. You cannot consider expensive gifts to your wife on the same level as expensive gifts for a casual girl. All schemes and assumptions should be filtered through the specific context. If you want to prove your serious intentions with gifts, and the girl no longer thanks you for them, she understands perfectly well that in exchange for gifts, you want to get something she can't give you. A girl in a strong position can demand gifts, but she does this not out of deep love, but rather due to a lack of love for you. Don't deceive yourself. If you fall for demands, you might find yourself in a strong position if you think they see you as a fool. But don't deceive yourself here either. If a command to run after flowers is perceived by you as a starting shot in the air, and you're always on the low start, then a strong position is unlikely. Your position will only weaken over time. Many men buy women things they can't afford and organize leisure activities they can't pay for. This is driven by the desire to make the girl fall in love with them, or even just out of an urgent need to win her favor. If a week of your work is valued less than a 2-hour meeting with a girl, that's a very bad sign for you. You don't value yourself and you idealize the girl. Already at this point, her attention is very costly. Your investments are already cheap. It's hard not to see what will happen next if you're already experiencing crazy inflation in your relationships. Be the master of your wallet, especially if the girl is losing interest in you. If she gets closer, that's a completely different story. Here, generosity is needed, not greed. If you really want to give something expensive to a girl who looks down on you, try to realize this motivation in another way. Give something to your parents. They raised you and will be very happy with a new phone or renovation. It looks very sad when men have mothers living in a rent-free apartment, while the woman who is cooling off lives in a fur coat, drives a Porsche, and has a new kitchen. Such men often consider themselves extremely generous, but a small zoom out will show that it's not generosity at all, just appearances. What happens after your investments? The gift will delight the girl and will bring joy only until she starts thinking about what she can get in return. At that moment, her mood will become even worse than before your gift. Forcing yourself to behave better towards you will only make your significance lower. Another option is to focus intensely on your shortcomings, but in the end, this will be of no help. Both options are SOSO. Aggression. By trying everything described above, over time, you start to feel that the situation has reached a critical point. You stand on the threshold. On one side, there's the desire to leave, and on the other side, internal conflict and anger that's hard to control. At such moments, a man's rage toward a woman nearly becomes instinctual, so intense that he wants to physically lash out or suppress her to get rid of these negative feelings, but for some reason, doing so is impossible or dangerous. These emotions evoke a desire simply to slam the door, leave, and never return to the situation. Sometimes, there's a desire to calmly talk things out, clarify everything, and set everything straight. But during the conversation, a man often enters a state of emotional outburst or pre-outburst, when his emotional intensity is so high that controlling his words and actions becomes very difficult. At these moments, he might say something very hurtful, release his emotions, and then leave without understanding the root causes of the conflict. Alternatively, he might completely withdraw, go into silence, shut himself off from the world, and seek solitude. Walking away in such situations, the best and often the only correct choice. Unfortunately, it's not always so easy to do. In modern society, many men are accustomed to being always available, ready to endure discomfort, whether financial, emotional, or physical. This leads to a temptation to tolerate everything for the sake of maintaining the relationship, or hoping that the situation will change. But this approach often only worsens the situation. If you realize that you're constantly enduring discomfort and feeling used or humiliated, it's best in such a situation to simply thank the girl for the time spent together and to end the communication. You shouldn't try to change the situation with force or hope for transformation. It's quite possible that you'll realize that the relationship has run its course and no longer brings you happiness. In such cases, an honest and calm ending is a sign of maturity and self-respect. If you've made a decision to leave, do so decisively and firmly. Usually, when a man makes such a decision, weak attempts to hold on only interfere. Your resolve is not only a principled act but also a symbol of inner strength. However, it's important to remember, the value of such a step lies in your inner state, not in the woman's reaction. If your actions are accompanied by rage or an urge to suppress it, it turns your decision into an act of emotional violence rather than a worthy choice. Remember, if you decide to leave, do it finally and without regrets. Reflection and reassessment are important stages. Because if you're held back or continue to cling to the relationship out of emotional reflex, true understanding won't happen. Your task is to overcome this instinct. If you try to stop yourself, and after leaving, tension lessens, you've acted correctly. There's no need to fight for a relationship at any cost, especially if it only causes stress and emotional trauma. Ultimately, no one wanted to offer you equal terms, simply because they benefited from your unhealthy dependency and weakness. Your reaction should be moderate and thoughtful. If you're offered conditions that match your expectations, don't hesitate to voice them. But avoid accusations or negative remarks. Say only what is most important to you, the boundaries you're not willing to cross or conditions you're not prepared to accept. Remember, your words and demands are not a laundry list of requirements, but rather a clear explanation of your boundaries, which should be discussed only within the framework of serious intentions. Words. One of the key aspects in relationships is words. However, many men spend a lot of time analyzing the girl's speech, trying to understand every yes or like. They literally obsess over it. This is a mistaken approach. In reality, words are often just a wrapper, hiding deeper emotions and feelings beneath. Remember, not every word or gesture from a woman is a sign of unconditional love or attachment. Many women may utter words for a moment of attention or to resolve their own internal conflicts. Therefore, it's essential to learn to hear not only the words but also the context and emotions behind them. If a woman is truly interested in serious relationships, she'll behave accordingly, show initiative, deepen the connection, and suggest joint plans. Recall your friends who share their romantic escapades. Some deceive their women, talking about serious relationships or business trips to justify their disappearances or infidelity. Why, I wonder, does it seem that women should behave differently? The truth is, if a woman is interested in stable relationships, she behaves as a wife. Gradually transferring the relationship to a deeper level, proposing to spend time together, showing initiative. If she faces many difficulties, such as stress at work, family problems, or health issues, it doesn't mean she wants to live with you. To interest her, you need to take the lead, then she'll want to live together. But if she says I can't or I don't want, it's usually an indicator that she doesn't have genuine desire. Men often wait for the woman to move in after 6 months or expect the situation to improve by itself. They start waiting until the mother no longer interferes, or until a work project ends, or for a suitable opportunity. Meanwhile, the woman looks at them with confusion. Why is he still waiting? Why isn't he acting himself? Instead, try to put your affairs in order. Clear the clutter from your apartment, tidy up your home, work on yourself, sign up for sports, develop a new hobby, learn something new professionally. For example, sign up for dance classes, horseback riding, or swimming. These activities not only make you more interesting but also help you break out of routine. During dates, listen more and ask about her interests. Don't just talk about yourself. Expectations. Many people live with the illusion that if they wait a little longer, everything will change. They believe that just a bit more, and everything will be better. But in practice, it often turns worse. The more you wait, the worse it gets. Remember, waiting for things to end never leads to a good outcome. This is one of the most destructive scenarios. The most common mistake is hoping that over time, the situation will change on its own, and all problems will disappear. But often, everything only worsens. Conflicts become more complex, misunderstandings grow, and relationships begin to crack. What truly works? Conscious self-improvement. Believe me, many reasons for your relationship problems are within your control. You don't need to wait for someone else to fix things or for the situation to resolve itself. Real change begins inside you. It's not a huge effort or time-consuming process. The key is to understand that even in the past, women could be very different, and you don't need to wait for better times or look for something impossible in women. The main thing, don't despair and don't lose hope. Also, avoid blaming women for your failures. Your responsibility, work on yourself, your mindset, and behavior. When you make these changes, real improvements are possible and, most importantly, genuine.